Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace. Welcome to the soul of Sunday. We are Unitarian Universalists. Ours is a historic faith with a progressive theology. We affirm the worth and dignity of every being and believe that we are all deeply interconnected. We are bound to one another not by creed, but by covenant. And we are called to love with open minds, open hearts, and open hands. Whoever you are, those of all nations, all creeds, all colors, all kinds of love, you are welcome here.
I'm Hala Hazar, this morning's worship coordinator. Rev. Parisa and I are joined by the Arlington Street Choir in leading worship today. We couldn't do this without Rev. Beth supporting the Zoom congregation, as well as the tech team, greeters, ushers, worship team, coffee hour hosts, musicians, and the Arlington Street Choir. We'd also like to welcome Barbara's parents, Ann and Fred, who moved to Boston permanently last night. They already call ASC home. Thank you, friends. If you're new to Arlington Street, welcome. We are so glad you're here, and we'd love to stay connected. I hope you will visit our website at ascboston.org and sign up for Snapshot, our weekly newsletter. On the last pages of the order of service, you'll find information on the upcoming Arlington Street events. There is a lot going on, both in person and on Zoom, and we'd love to see you this week. If you'd like to submit an announcement, please email the church office at office@ascboston.org by Wednesday evening so it can be included in the e-newsletter and the order of service. If you came this morning with a joy or concern on your heart, you are invited to light a candle at home and share in the chat, or come up and light a silent candle at the table to the right of the Gleason podium. Our beloved 10-year-old member, Zoe, has been courageously battling cancer, and her treatments mean she largely has to stay away from crowds. Zoe loves Christmas, and we'd love for you to help us send Zoe some special holiday light. We have paper candles in the church vestibule before worship and at coffee hour after worship. Please stop by to write Zoe a message and send her our love. If you're not here in person, you can find a link in the Zoom chat which will take you to a form where you can leave your message, and we'll write it on a candle for you. We'll collect candles and messages for the next 2 weeks before delivering them to Zoe and her mom, Tammy. Love truly is the spirit of this congregation, and we're so grateful for your help in sending love and light to Zoe. Our Arlington Street staff, musicians, and volunteers are hard at work getting ready for 2 Christmas Eve services at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. on Tuesday, December 24th. We're still looking for some folks to help with greeting and ushering to show the world our wide welcome at both services. You'll get great training and orientation and be on the inside track of what happens on that magical night. If you'd like to sign up, please see one of the ushers after the service, and they'll be happy to add your name to the list. I hope all of you in the in-person congregation will plan to join us in the Honeywell Chapel right through the leather door up front after the service. Those of you on Zoom are invited to stay for a remote fellowship as well. Keith is going to turn the camera on the in-person congregation as we wave and smile at each other, as well as our friends in the Zoom room, and you all in the Zoom room can wave and smile back. Hello, friends. Let's all Arlington Street spirit of welcome that transcends physical distance as we greet one another heart to heart. Whether you've been coming here for years or today is your first time at Arlington Street, welcome home.
Our first hymn this morning is Deck the Hall, which can be found as number 235 in your hymnal, and the words are also in your order of service and on Zoom. And we sing this with extra passion this morning in celebration of the folks who decked our halls. Kevin Tyrell, Elf Hefe, our lead elf, who has manned the crew to make this beautiful. So rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing out loud our Deck the Hall. The hall, it is decked. The world, it is aching with beauty and with strife. Our hearts, they are ready for release from worry and a full flourishing in joy. Let the light of life and love burn brightly among us so that we will not miss the lessons in word and song that herald the ongoing work of creation. Love born again, hope in the face of despair, life made new. May our hearts prepare them room.
Then a woman said, "Speak to us of joy and sorrow." And he answered, "Your joy is your sorrow unmasked, and the selfsame well from which your laughter rises was oftentimes filled with your tears, and how else can it be? The deeper that sorrow carves into your being, the more joy you can contain. It is not the cup that holds your wine, the very cup that was burned in the potter's oven?" Khalil Gibran, the prophet.
Open my heart to be a sanctuary, all made holy, loved and true, with thanksgiving. I'll be a living sanctuary.
It is now time for our treasured ritual of sharing community candles of sorrow and joy. In addition to sharing our sorrows and joys this morning, Let's reach out to one another in the week ahead, staying connected. May these times remind us of how very precious this beloved community is. We need one another. Whether together or apart, may we stay very close. Let's join in singing Sanctuary. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat.
Some of us come today with heavy hearts. We open our hearts to you.
A candle of sorrow from the Arlington Street congregation for the family of Kevin Lundgren, who passed away suddenly last week. A candle of care for Morgan Johnstone, who continues to recover from surgery at Tufts Medical Center. We send Morgan our love and the embrace of this community. A candle of care for those around the world facing the uncertainty and tumult of governments in transition from here at home in the U.S. to the people of Syria, South Korea, Lebanon, and beyond. We pray for the well-being of all and for peace, human dignity, and human rights. A final candle of care for all who are struggling this holiday season with loss upon loss. We see you, we honor your struggle, and we are here for you always.
Some of us come today with joy. We share your joy.
A candle of joy for the ushers, greeters, musicians, and all involved in preparing for the Christmas Eve services. A final candle of joy from the Arlington Street congregation for Roger Vine and Eve Loria, who led us in holiday cheer last Sunday with a concert and caroling.
True.
For all the sorrows and all the joys we hold in our hearts, we light a silent candle to remember and rejoice. May the peace of this sanctuary enter into our hearts as we share a quiet moment together, breathing our prayers for ourselves, for one another, for our country, for all nations, for all beings. Amen.
Please join in saying the affirmation and covenant of this beloved spiritual community. The words are printed in your order of service and in the chat. Love is the spirit of this congregation, and service is our gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to speak our truths in love, and to help one another. El amor es el espíritu de nuestra congregación. Y el servicio es nuestro regalo. Esto es a lo que nos comprometemos, convivir en paz, hablar nuestras verdades con amor y ayudarnos los unos a los otros. Our first carol this morning is It Came Upon a Midnight Clear. Please rise in body, rise in spirit, and join in singing.
From ages
This story is called Christmas Dinner at Steeple Church. When Ollie was 10, his father died. Ollie, his dad Samuel, and his mom Ariel lived in San Diego, and they were happy. Now, Ollie and Ariel were very sad. Ariel thought it would help them both to be closer to family, so she and Ollie moved to Chicago. They had attended church together in San Diego, and Ariel thought it would help her and Ollie to have a church here. So they went to Steeple Church. Ariel liked the rainbow flag and the welcoming green door. Ollie did not want to go. "It will be good for us," Ariel told him. They went to Steeple Church every week and started to get to know the people there. They met Miss Ronnie, who worked in the church office and asked a lot of questions. They met Mr. Edward, who always wore a bow tie, and Sparkle, who greeted people at the door, always wearing different colorful glasses. He called them his Eltons. And they got to know Reverend Ramona. She had twinkling eyes and a gentle voice and was very kind. Christmas was a big deal at Steeple Church. It was only July, and they were already starting to plan their annual Christmas Sunday dinner. "I think we should go," Ariel said to Ollie. "I don't want to have Christmas this year," Ollie said. The months went by, and it was November. After church, Ollie and Ariel were greeted by Reverend Ramona. "It's so good to see you both. Ollie, how are you doing with our winter weather?" Ollie shrugged. "Some of the kids your age were planning a hot cocoa bar for Sunday Christmas dinner. I hope you'll join us." "I don't want to go," Ollie said in a big voice. "Ollie," his mom was embarrassed. Reverend Ramona was calm. "Why not, Ollie?" she asked. "I don't want to have anything Christmas if my dad can't be there." Ollie ran off, and Reverend Ramona watched him as she tucked her silver hair behind her ear. One of the great things about Reverend Ramona is that she is always learning. "I have an idea," she whispered to herself, "and I think there's still time." Reverend Ramona called the Sunday dinner committee, the Christmas Sunday dinner committee, to tell them her idea. They were on board, but it was going to be a lot of work. They spread the word and asked for help. Did anyone have extra tables they could lend? What about extra china? It was the Sunday before Christmas, and Ollie woke up to the smell of arepas, his dad's favorite food. Samuel made them for every holiday and told Ollie stories of his grandparents who were from Colombia. Ollie was excited for them, but then remembered his dad wasn't here. He stayed in his bed for a long time. Eventually, Ariel came to get him. "Hi, sweetheart. Remember, we have the dinner at the church tonight. We can go for a little while, and if it doesn't feel good, we can leave, I promise. Before we go, can you do me a favor and find a picture of your dad? Pick one you like. I need it before we leave tonight." Ollie sighed, went looking through his pictures, and sent one to his mom. They arrived at the church, and the basement had been transformed. There were lights everywhere, and there were tables pushed together to go all the way across the room. Ollie didn't think the church had this many people. "Welcome," Sparkle said. "Please find your names at the table." Ollie and Ariel found their names. Ariel sat her stuff down in front of her. "Ollie, look," and motioned to the seat next to her. Ollie looked and saw his dad's name. Ariel pulled a framed picture out of her bag. It was the picture Ollie had sent to her. She placed the frame next to Samuel's place card. Then she pulled out a big plate of arepas. "Look around, Ollie," she said. Ollie looked around and saw that there were framed pictures all around the table. Reverend Ramona stood up. "Welcome to our Christmas dinner. This year, you'll notice there are more places at our table. One of you taught me an important lesson, that for Christmas to feel like Christmas, we need to include the people we love, including those who have died. So this year, I've asked you to tell me about those people so we can include them at our table. I've asked you to bring their pictures and foods and traditions. Next to my seat, I have this picture of my sister, Rosie. She died 20 years ago. I miss her so much. Her favorite Christmas tradition was reading the Polar Express. I'd like to read you my favorite part to share a little of Rosie with you. I invite you to tell your neighbors about your loved ones and the traditions you shared. Ali joined the others in walking around the table. He learned about Miss Ronnie's cat Sophie, who loved to play with yarn as she knitted Christmas gifts. He learned about Sparkle's husband, who made amazing gingerbread cookies, and about Mr. Edward's mom, who loved the Nutcracker. And Ali and Ariel told them all about Samuel and shared his arepas. Now that there was room for Samuel at the Christmas dinner, Ali didn't want to leave. And he realized he wasn't alone in feeling sad. And he even felt okay laughing at Sparkle's dance moves and Miss Ronnie's Christmas sweater. Reverend Ramona came by to try an arepa. I want to thank you, Ali, she said. You taught me that we need to make a place for the people we miss at our Christmas table. It's so important that they're there. You know, with a place for my dad, I don't feel as sad. Or maybe it's that I feel many things. Reverend Ramona's eyes twinkled. Did you see Sparkle's dance moves? Ali answered by dancing. Oh, come on, Sparkle yelled. My moves are better than that. And they all laughed.
So you all can feel free to sing along to this one as well. It's a little bit more performance-y, but it's also a familiar carol that we all know and love. So I'll have us stay seated, but if you want to sing along, please do.
our child and mother, weave their magic spell, touching hearts with wonder, words can never tell. In the bleak midwinter, in this world of pain, where our hearts are open, love is born again. Where our hearts are open, love is born again.
A season of great joy is upon us, when traditions from around the world mark the winter solstice, celebrating the turn towards the light on the shortest day of the year. Christmas, Yule, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all kindle the flames of faith. Faith, the belief that somehow things will be better, despite the fact that sometimes there's scant evidence. Or, as Hebrews 11 states, faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. The assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. Even though there may be dark clouds on the horizon, now is the time to celebrate the joy of this season and to hold on to faith. In his beloved book, The Polar Express, Chris Van Allsburg writes of a child's faith. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me that I would never hear: the ringing bells of Santa's sleighs. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late at night, I did hear sounds, though not the ringing of bells. From outside came the sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and I saw a train standing perfectly still right in front of my house. It was the Polar Express. I took the conductor's outreached hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children as we steamed our way north through cold, dark forests and high mountains. And then, there it was, the North Pole. It was a city standing alone at the very top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. They are gathering at the center of the city, the conductor told us. That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas? Who receives the first gift, we all asked. The conductor answered, he will choose one of you. Look, shouted one of the children, the elves. Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no further, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. They pranced and ran about, ringing bells hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound like nothing I'd ever heard before. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointing to me said, let's have this fellow here. He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up and I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, now, what would you like for Christmas? I knew that I could have any gift I could ever imagine, but the thing I most wanted for Christmas was not inside Santa's bag. What I wanted more than anything was one of the bells from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, the first gift of Christmas. A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names, and he cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed up into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared into the cold, dark, polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the bell from Santa's sleigh. Let's hurry outside and look for it, one of the children cried. But the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and I waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. What? I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. Merry Christmas, he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle, and it sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one small little box behind a tree. It had my name on it. There was a note as well. And inside the note, I opened it, and it said, found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C. I took the box and I opened it up, and it was the bell. I shook the bells, and it made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, oh, that's too bad. Yes, said my father, it's broken. When I had shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a single sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell. But as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear the sweet sound of the bell. Though I've grown old myself, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. Can you hear the bell? Can you? Can you? Let me hear. Let us hold on to this faith, the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen. And let's pass this faith forward. Merry Christmas. And now, please rise in body, rise in spirit, and join in singing Silver Bells. The words are printed in your order of service and can also be found in the chat.
Christmas.
One of the things I love about being a Unitarian Universalist is, as you've already heard this morning, the fact that our sacred texts come in so many forms. So I suppose it was just a matter of time before I was sharing from the pulpit story from a Netflix drama. This is neither a Christmas story nor explicitly Unitarian Universalist, but it captures our theology really well, and it's about an angel and a star. It's from a show called Sex Education. And this is a retelling adapted from my friend and colleague, the Reverend Claire Feingold Thorne. In the show, the teenagers mess up, grow up, care for each other, figure out who they are and who they want to be. And so do the grown-ups. And there is one character named Eric F. Young, played by a Rwandan Scottish actor named Shuti Gatwa. He is also the latest Doctor Who. The character Eric is bright, sparkling as new ice, eyelids covered in glitter, lips painted with shimmery gloss, ears hung with dangling earrings. He is kind, hopeful, funny, queer, and Christian. And he isn't sure if he can reconcile all of those parts of himself. In some settings, he feels that he needs to hide his queerness, and in other settings, he feels he needs to hide his faith. In the last season, the show gives Eric a magically surreal journey. An angel appears to him again and again. Sometimes she's an unhoused person, sometimes she's a drag queen. As the book of Hebrews says, do not neglect to show hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. One time, the angel encounters Eric on a bridge, and she appears as a magnificent flying being with wings. Eric has just left his church, thinking he had to sacrifice his spiritual identity to fully embrace his queerness. But the angel is not having it. Dressed in gold and shimmering with light, she looms over Eric. Eric is also dressed in gold, and his garments sparkle as brightly as the angel's. And Eric falls back, afraid. The angel calls back to Eric with a loving voice. Eric F. Young, you are my precious child. You are brave and bold and positively effervocious. Eric is confused and he says, I don't think that's a word. The angel booms, are you arguing with God? Eric says, no, maybe you're trying to say effervescent, which is very kind of you. And the angel interrupts and says, shh, shh, listen. Eric closes his eyes. He listens, and all he hears is birdsong. And when he opens his eyes, the angel is gone. Eric is left searching, trying to follow the star that will guide him to himself. There are so many forces in this world that, like King Herod, want to silence us, to keep us separate from each other and our deepest selves. Forces that tell us to hide, to divorce parts of ourselves, or wonder if we can ever be loved as we truly are. Reverend Emily Scott, a queer and genderqueer pastor, says that the journey to follow our stars always carries some risk. Whenever truth and love are revealed in the world, forces of hatred and fear will try to blot them out. I don't know what each of you here has experienced in the lifelong journey to be the person God made you to be, but what I do know is that you've probably been told somewhere along the way that your fullest self was not of God. Whether you heard it from your family who couldn't accept you in your fullness, from the kids at school who can be so incredibly cruel, from your pastor or priest, sometimes the places where we should receive affirmation are the very places that cast us away. Don't be afraid. God has been making misfit families of those who found themselves on the outside for thousands and thousands of years. The character Eric's spiritual journey toward wholeness continues over the course of the final season. And in the last episode, spoiler alert, Eric is desperately searching to find a friend who's in trouble. And instead, he encounters the angel again. This time, she's not magnificent or winged or flying. She's just a girl in a tracksuit standing right in front of him. Eric weeps. "What do you want from me?" The angel says, "This is the start of a long, hard road, but I will be with you every step of the way. You will change hearts and minds and let everyone know that I love them for who they are. This will be your calling. This will be your life's work." Eric replies, "I don't think so." The angel takes Eric's face in her hands and she says, "I made you this bright so that others could see in the darkness. I made you this bright so that others could see in the darkness." Eric closes his eyes again and asks, "What do I do now?" And all he hears is birdsong. And when he opens his eyes, the angel is gone. May we all learn to shine bright with all of who we are, so that others might see in the darkness. Our next hymn, our next carol this morning is Angels We Have Heard on High, number 231 if you want to use your hymnal. Also printed in your order of service and in the Zoom chat. Please rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing Angels We Have Heard on High.
One of the things that I like about this carol is that we are the voices of both the shepherds, and then when we get to that chorus, the Gloria in excelsis Deo, we become the voices of the angels. We become the angels as well as we sing those. And that, I don't know about you, but as I was hearing that story, and I'm thinking of that glory, that could almost be birdsong. That call, it's so beautiful. So the way we like to do this one is we'll sing the verses kind of slow, and then when we get to the chorus, we're going to take it twice as fast with that exultant Gloria, and then we'll slow it down for the verses again. All right, we're just going to jump right into it. Angels, 1, 2, 3. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Here we go. Gloria in excelsis Deo, now slow it down. In excelsis Deo. Shepherds, shepherds, why this jubilee? Why these songs of happy cheer? What great brightness did you see? What glad tidings did you hear? Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo. See him in a manger laid, who
above. Mary, Joseph, lend your aid while we raise our hearts in love. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
There are so many things that are joyful and magical about this time of year, but air travel is typically not one of them. Did you hear about Delta Flight 1238 out of Atlanta a few days ago? The cramped and cranky passengers had been sitting on the tarmac for over an hour when they received the news that the replacement flight crew they were waiting on to take off was stuck in traffic. Amid the rapidly escalating tension on the plane, an unassuming man stood up and opened the overhead bin. Passengers watched him assemble a saxophone and were a bit bewildered when he began walking up the aisle playing "O Holy Night." Wayne Hoy, a retired veteran who played with the U.S. Army Band for 20 years, soon had the whole plane clapping and calling out requests for favorite Christmas carols. In addition to the holiday classics, Hoy had a huge hit with his rendition of Baby Shark. That one got the toddlers dancing and the adults singing and laughing. Fellow passenger Katie Daly said, "It was such a beautiful moment, especially in this time when strangers don't often give each other joy. Wayne's playing was lovely to witness and a gift during a stressful travel time. Wayne is a light in the community. We need more of that." In December of 1933, an unusual advertisement appeared in the Canton Repository. If your family is without work or warmth, food or medicine, housing or strength, I would like to help. Hundreds of letters poured in to the mysterious donor's post office box. This was the height of the Great Depression, and people were out of work and out of hope. The promised help arrived in the form of 150 personal checks. Many were for as little as $5, but in the midst of a desolate Christmas season, the modest gifts were a welcome bright spot. No one knew who among their neighbors was responsible for this great kindness. 75 years later, Ted Gupp was cleaning out the attic of his grandparents' house and found a suitcase filled with hundreds of desperate letters, 150 canceled checks, and a tiny bank book in which the disposition of $760 had been carefully recorded. Gupp was stunned to discover that his grandfather, Samuel J. Stone, was Canton's anonymous benefactor. An investigative journalist, Gupp was hooked. He devoted 2 years to finding and interviewing hundreds of the descendants of the original letter writers. Gupp's research culminated in a book and a reunion at Canton's Palace Theater that brought together 400 people whose lives were touched by the checks. Journalist Christopher Magg covered the event in the New York Times. For the older people, it was a chance to remember the hard times. For the relatives of the letter writers, it was a time to hear about how the small gifts in the bleakest winter of the Depression meant more than money. They buoyed the spirits of an entire city that was beginning to lose hope. From the stage of the Palace Theater, Ms. Helen Palm, aged 90, read from her yellowed letter. I am writing this because I need clothing, and sometimes we run out of food. J.L. White, father of 7 children, wrote in his thank you note that he was considering suicide before he received the anonymous gift. For other families, Mr. Stone's gift provided the only holiday cheer that grim winter. Olive Hillman used the $5 check to buy her 8-year-old daughter a doll with a porcelain face and leather arms. I was thrilled to get it, Geraldine Hillman Fry, now 85. It really was the only doll I ever had in my life, so it meant a lot to me. Days before Christmas, with Mr. Stone's gift in hand, Edith May took her 4-year-old daughter, Felice, to the Five and Dime and bought her a wooden horse. 77 years later, Felice May Dunn owns 2 farms and 17 Welsh ponies. In my life, it made a big difference. Ms. Dunn recalled, it was my favorite toy. In 2024, we're in our own version of a bleak Christmas season. As we approach this holiday marked by generosity and gift giving, many of us are feeling bereft in our spirits and maybe in our wallets too. Like the 3 wise men wondering what to bring to the baby in the manger, we ask, what have I to give? In the spirit of Wayne Hoy and Samuel J. Stone, let's give kindness in abundance this year. As my colleague, the Reverend David Blanchard says, when it comes to kindness, the best advice I ever got was this: think small and just keep repeating. Merry Christmas. I love you.
Our next carol is the 12 Days of Christmas. The words are printed in the order of service and in the chat. We're not going to sing all 12 verses of this. We're going to sing the first 5 verses, and then we're going to skip all the way to 12, and then do the big countdown from 12 down to 1 at the end. If you feel like you want to give birds to the church, we don't yet have a mechanism for that. Cash is better. I invite us to rise in body, rise in spirit, and we'll sing the 12 Days of Christmas.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me.
Arlington Street is entirely self-sustaining. It's up to us. And our generosity continues to be astounding. Thank you for your commitment to our staff, our building, and our beloved spiritual community. Each Sunday, we share our collection plate with a partner in our mission of love, service, justice, and peace. This week, we share our plate with the Friday Night Supper program, our longtime partner in service. In 1984, as the AIDS crisis was escalating in Boston, Arlington Street Church and Dignity Boston, a community of GLBTQ Catholics and allies, collaborated to meet the growing need for support and services for people facing food and housing insecurity, social isolation, and homelessness. 40 years later, it continues and is as an independent organization which has provided over 5,000 meals to hundreds of individuals in the Boston community this year alone. In addition to the meals, they also provide clothing and resource information to their guests. Over the past 40 years, members of Arlington Street Church have volunteered in a variety of capacities and given generously. Let us keep the tradition of loving service alive. Please take a moment now to join me in giving to sustain our beloved Arlington Street and the Friday Night Supper program. You can give online at ascboston.org or find instructions in the order of service for giving via QR code, Venmo, or text message. You can also mail a check to the church or use envelopes in the pews, which can be given to the ushers as they come through momentarily with collection plates. Thank you for your generosity.
Our final carol is Go Tell It on the Mountain. It can be found in your hymnal at number 239 or in your order of service. Let's rise in body, rise in spirit, and sing together, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching, or silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens is shown a holy light. Over the hills and everywhere, go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds feared and trembled when low above the earth rang out the angel chorus that hailed the baby's birth.
With all that great energy from our choir and musicians and gathered among us and from all of our wonderful storytellers this morning, I want to invite our shared benediction and invite those of you in the Zoom room to put your hands at the sides of your square and those in the sanctuary to put your hands up, palms out, and share loving kindness with those on either side of you and on either side of them in radiating circles of love and care and connection. And then gather all of that love that is the spirit of this congregation back to heart center and carry it with you as you go into your day, into this week, and into the world. This morning, we say goodbye to our beloved Reverend Liz Weber, who's been a member of the Arlington Street community for more than 20 years. Liz's journey is taking her home to Ohio, and so we surround her with our love and the knowledge that though she will be far away in body, she is part of us and we are part of her. So with lots of clergy to lay hands and blessing upon you, we send you forth with love from this congregation and the prayer that the longtime sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the clear light within you guide your way on. We love you, Liz. Okay, say something to you.
Thank you all. I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for all that you have seen me through and all that you have supported me in. My love is with you always.
Please visit ascboston.org for more information about this historic Unitarian Universalist congregation. Arlington Street Church, gathered in love and service for justice and peace.